Georgia Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis accepted a Black History Achievement Award through the Atlanta Berean Church 2 days after appearing in court, where she was questioned by lawyers about her relationship with prosecutor Nathan Wade, who's also involved in the Georgia case against former President Donald Trump.
During her acceptance speech, Willis recited scripture and asked the following of her audience. My only request from this family today is this is a really hard job and I'm trying to do, and I am an imperfect human being, but I can literally feel the people who love me's prayers. If just every now and again you'll throw my name in a prayer, God hears his children. So I thank you for this honor today.
There was also some new reporting in a couple outlets, CNN and other places, about cash payments she had made. So recall that so she's in this romantic relationship with Nathan Wade, and part of the allegations of impropriety are that, well, she's paying him, and then he's taking her on these trips. He said, and he paid for the trips, but he's saying that he reimbursed her she was reimbursed with cash, so that's why there's no record of it. It is apparently the case that she does pay for stuff in cash, large amounts of cash. There's a testimony from a winery owner that they both visited, and where they enjoyed a wine tasting, and she paid for it with a couple $100 in cash, and he remembered it because it is not often that people pay, for a large meal or something in cash that way. So
yeah, people are pretty insistent, and I cannot speak to this. This is not my personal experience as a Black person. But some folks have been very insistent that this is a Black cultural practice to keep more cash on hand. And there's a certain logic that tracks. There has been a historical distrust of banks for very good reasons. Black Wall Street, Tulsa Massacre, all these, less flashy historical examples that I think would give rise to a population having a cultural tendency to keep more cash on hand and pay for more in cash. And certainly Fani Willis's father testified that he advised his daughter to do the same to protect herself on dates and in a romantic context in particular. So that might be true.
Yeah.
The problem is that even that seems to be a sort of just bad optics for someone who, again, is prosecuting such a high-profile case, to hire someone who, this is in dispute, but was allegedly at the time in a romantic relationship with her. She says the relationship didn't start afterward. There was testimony that it started before.
It did, yeah.
But if you know that the optics are such that it looks like you hired him for a job that pays him a lot of money so that he could pay for you to go on trips that you then don't have to pay for with your own money, that you would want to have some record of reimbursements precisely so that you do not get accused of what you're being accused of now. And maybe that's unfair to say you should have anticipated that there was going to be a probe of this nature. But honestly, you're prosecuting the most high-profile case in the country against a notoriously litigious presidential candidate in Donald Trump. You know that they're going to dig up dirt, whatever dirt they can find, and you know there's impropriety in the nature of your relationship in this employment dynamic in the first place. To not want to CYA, as they say, and cover your tuchus by having some kind of receipt structure, maybe try using Venmo, even if you have a cultural tendency to cash. Would it kill ya to Venmo each other so at least there was some kind of record? And the absence of that record, I'm afraid, still does raise some implications that you were intentionally trying to fudge the numbers here so that there can be something akin to a kickback scheme.
Right. I read this really good piece in The Atlantic from Richard Painter, who's about, as anti-Trump a public figure as you can find, and a public figure and writer. And, he points out, look, it's just in the overwhelming majority of workplaces, once you, a supervisor or boss, begin a romantic relationship with a subordinate, with someone whose payments you're signing off on, that has to be the end of the professional relationship. You can't be in that. That's not something that's just tolerated in the workplace.
Or at least you have
generally.
to disclose it.
Disclose it so that somebody else can be in charge, can be facilitating that aspect of it. You have to resign from public service. But to continue in that way, not be forthright about it, and then have him in this role, and again, a seemingly inexperienced choice to handle this case, makes it look like there's something shady going on. And that's what Richard Painter says, is that even the appearance of impropriety is enough of a reason for recusal. So she should absolutely, without question, be recusing herself at this point.
Yeah, and by the way, I take the point about, okay, she used cash to pay for a $150 wine tasting.
Yeah.
That's a very different thing than the thousands and thousands of dollars that are being implicated here in this case. Willis said she took $4,000 with her on Wade's birthday trip to Belize in March of 2023. Of that, she reimbursed him $2,500 for their hotel, flights, and food, she says. This is reporting from the LA Times, which again, I think that the general tone of a lot of this reporting is that, it's not the same as the conservative reporting that is maybe more personalizing this arguably. But the liberal reporting is just like, this is just bad judgment. It might not be illegal. It might not actually put you in a position where you're forced to recuse yourself or be replaced here. But the optics are so bad, and the soap opera drama of this story is so extreme. I mean, we're getting testimony about when they ended their relationship, and it's because the only thing a woman can do for a man is to make my sandwich. Like, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
This. She testified that Wade told her the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. I don't want to know that. Yeah. I don't need to know any of that. And what this has the effect of doing is, frankly, undermining her professional standing in the courtroom. Everybody in Atlanta, everybody in the country is going to be aware that she was in the middle of some petty interpersonal debate, and that's going to be on their mind if she stays on this case, as she's trying to prosecute a very serious case that alleges that the former president of the United States of America plotted for weeks before the inauguration to try to stay in office. Right. And look what we're talking about.
Yeah, as you point out, it is significant sums of money. It's not like he's alleged to have paid for her like at Olive Garden a couple times or something. We're talking about trips. According to Richard Painter, actually the payments in question are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars and actually are higher than her own salary, which does start in the territory. Again, this isn't small ball or nickel and dime stuff. It's a significant amount of money that he spent on her. Which again which is the reason this relationship is under so much scrutiny.
And while, by the way, they weren't even publicly in a relationship, and while he was married to somebody else, I'm like, what kind of dating advice should I be getting from her to get people to drop that much money on them in a relationship? I'm like, I gotta go write some things to my boyfriend right now.
And then you can reach into your purse for your $200 to pay for the wine tasting.
Right.
I don't know. That seems unlikely. But,
yeah.
Here we are. We will continue to cover this story. More Rising right after this.